The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to our Ask Me Anything session. We're going to give everyone just a couple minutes to dial in, so we'll go ahead and go on mute, and we'll come back in just a few minutes. We are just a few minutes past, so we'll go ahead and get started. We'd like to thank everyone for joining today. We do have some familiar names, some new names, so if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. On the line, we have Brandon Peterson. He is on our account management team, and also Lauren with our marketing team, just to help with the presentation today. Our topic for today is the candidate feedback tab and presenting or providing candidate feedback in the system. We'll be covering that for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then afterwards we'll give everyone a chance to hop in and ask some questions. We do ask that you use the raise hand function or submit questions in the questions panel. And we can just kind of take questions as they come in. We can unmute you, or if you're more comfortable just typing a question in, feel free to do that as well. We are asking that we have one topic or question at a time, just to make sure that we can get to everybody today with our questions. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I did want to start everyone off in our library where you can create templates. And in our library, we have a couple of interview feedback evaluation forms available for you to use, or you are free to create your own from scratch. You can clone these forms. If it's pretty close to what you need, you might be able to clone that, make a copy of it, and make changes to it so you still have your original to go back to if you would like. And it's really up to you how you structure these interview feedback forms. But these will allow your users to come in and provide feedback after an interview for that particular candidate. So for example, in this example that we have a rating key. You can come in and rate your candidate based on different areas or topics from that interview. We have the option for you to make a recommendation. So maybe you want to proceed with a second interview or continue your search. Maybe the interview did not go so well and you're not interested. So you can go ahead and indicate next steps. Maybe you've got a text box that's available for you to go ahead and just type some notes in or your thoughts on the interview. Okay, let's come down to interview evaluation form 2. Same idea, a little bit different structure. So we have the option for you to do your ranking, make some comments after each particular section. So you would be available or able to create your own questionnaire via new questionnaire. Or again, you can use these as templates, you can clone them or make edits to those if you would like. As far as actually submitting that feedback, let's go ahead and come into our candidate tab. I do need to open my filters up just a little bit to find the candidate that I was hoping to talk about. And we'll be looking at George Blake. And as you can see, as you come across, we do have a feedback tab. From here, your team will be able to add feedback, so they can go ahead and just type some general notes in there. You can expand this panel if you need to. You can also give them a feedback rating. So if you're a little bit more visual, perhaps you want to give them a certain amount of stars. We'll show you where that appears in just a little bit. So we can submit that information. You can also use the submit questionnaire functionality. So from here, I can go ahead and open up interview evaluation form 2. And I can complete that right from the candidate profile, put my notes into the system, and go ahead and submit that information. Okay, so we can see an example here. Here is some feedback that I had submitted, and here's a questionnaire that's been completed. So that's all going to track with you for you on the candidate feedback tab. That is important if you ever have an audit or a question while you hired one candidate over another. You can simply come back into this candidate record and view that information. We had mentioned the little visual marker here with these stars. So let's go ahead. We'll come back to our candidate tab. And if we come into George Blake's profile again, we can scroll over and see average feedback. So on average, George has been given 5 stars in the system. So that's going to be a quick visual for you to kind of see how your candidates are interviewing. As far as getting that reminder to complete an interview comment sheet to your team, we do have an option for you. When you go to schedule an event, so if you're scheduling an interview as an example, you can go ahead and assign that to your interview team. We'll just need to add a row to add users. And if we schedule our interview, we'll pick our time and everything for the candidate. And then coming down to the bottom, we can assign that questionnaire. And we can have an email reminder go out every so often just to remind that user that they are being asked to complete that interview feedback form. So that's just an easy way to give your team a little bit of a nudge to come in and complete that information once the interview has been completed. And that is really as simple as it is, the feedback process form in our system. So with that, we'll go ahead and open up the floor to questions. And I will go ahead and open up my questions panel.
So this is Lauren on the line. We do have a question coming in from Victoria, so we'll start there. And then if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the questions chat panel or raise your hand and we'll unmute you and bring you on so you can give some more details with that question as well. So Victoria, I've just unmuted you, so feel free to ask your question. And you might need to unmute on your end as well.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, we could hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. I was wondering, I kind of inherited ApplicantStack, so some of the library templates you talk about aren't in there. Is there a way to get, I even checked an archive to see if maybe my predecessors might have archived it, but it looks like they may have just deleted it thinking they would never need it. So I didn't know if, is there a way just for template purposes to get maybe like an email of those three, or a way to get the generic ones if we don't have them in our library anymore?
Your library, they may have been deleted. If you go ahead and would submit a support ticket to our support team, they can help and kind of import that into your account.
Perfect. Generic. Okay, got it.
Mhm.
And my second question with that is, so when you utilize the, I think I've made a note of it so I can make sure to ask you to not go too long. When you said to schedule an event for the search committee, so as you're talking about, they could use it for two ways. If we set up, like if we have a post interview where they're reviewing who to move forward for an interview, we could set it up for their screening criteria that way, and then we could schedule it and create a interview, like a feedback one that you said. Is that how you mean you could do the schedule event and the task?
Yeah, a scheduled event would be anything that is date and time bound. So for example, for an interview, it would be on a certain date, a certain time. So you can either select a time or invite your candidate to select a time. You could select start time, end time. Do you want to include an invite to your candidate? And you can go ahead and say that. That will trigger your candidate that you have an interview upcoming. So it may be possible to use that and then submit that interview feedback form. For the other piece that you're mentioning, that may be more of a task. So if it's just a general reminder, we can create a task. So maybe you want to say, phone screen this candidate, or follow up for this job process. Who are you going to assign that to? You can go ahead and designate your team. Same ideas, send an email reminder. You can assign a questionnaire for completion. So if it's just a general reminder, something of that sort, that might be more appropriate for a task.
Okay, so a task is one thing, and when you say schedule, that means that like when you pick that part where it says the interview, are we actually sending that directly to the candidate or to the search committee?
It will go to both. So you'll have to check the box to include the invite to the candidate, and then it will go to the users that you designate in the user section. Who's that assigned to? That will come to their homepage. We have a tasks and events section up at the top right. Okay, so we can see what upcoming tasks that we have or interviews. And then there will be an email that is generated, and there will be an add to calendar functionality in that email, so they can add it to their Outlook calendar.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Victoria, for your question. We have another question coming in from Deanna Reyes. So Deanna, I will unmute you, and then you can ask your question. You should be able to go for it now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
My library page does not look the same as your library page. I don't have the little rectangle on the left side where it should, where you are now with jobs and questionnaires. I don't have that. Is there something I can do to make sure to get that?
When you say rectangle, which are you?
It's blue on the left side of the page. It says jobs, then questionnaires, then messages and tasks.
It could very well be your access in the system. This is something that library is available to certain users. If you're a hiring manager, I believe you will not have access to the library. So it could be that it's your access in the system, but your recruiter and admin users would have access to the library.
I am the admin.
You are the admin. Should be able to see that. This section here, you should be able to see. So if there's, for some reason, you can't see that, I would go ahead, let us know your name, company, put a ticket in with support, the orange question mark up in the upper right, and just let them know I'm not able to see this.
Okay.
There could be something in your setup on the back end that's unique to your account. So
Okay.
they'll take a look at that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks for your question. I don't see any other hands raised at the moment, but if anyone has another question, feel free to hop in line and just raise your hand and we'll unmute you.
Okay, and questions don't have to be specific to what we talked about earlier in the presentation. Any questions that you have, we're happy to help.
Okay, it looks like I've got another question from Victoria, so I'll go ahead and unmute you.
Hi, I was wondering when I first started using ApplicantStack, when I was testing stuff, there was a sandbox. Do you guys still have that as an option, and do you refresh it? And if so, if it is something that's still applicable, is it able to get a new link?
We'll have to check into that for you. Typically, we don't have sandbox environments, so that may be a one-off situation that we'll have to look into for you. But you are free to come into the system and make changes. There's not much that cannot be undone. So if you want to create a questionnaire, it's not going to impact anything until you assign it or go in to use it. So it's not going to really necessarily hurt anything to go in and create questionnaires and templates and so forth. But that will be a question that we'll have to take offline.
Okay. I only asked because I created a field in the onboarding side, like it was a SSN. And so when I try to take it off, it doesn't let me take it off. So I thought, oh, maybe I should stop and see if there's a sandbox to play around in.
Mm-hmm. Sure, you should be able to, if you created a field, you should be able to take it off. So you created a social security number field on the onboard portion, and is it showing anywhere? Do you have it displaying? Is it just internal to you?
It's just on the onboarding page, like where all the demo, the address and job types and some of the stuff that it pulled in from the recruitment. We don't have the social security number obviously on the recruitment side, but I was trying to play to see what it would look like if it was something to pull in. So I'll probably play around again, or maybe I'll just put a ticket in case I'm not seeing how to remove it, because I tried, I could edit it, but I couldn't see how to take it out. So I could do that now that I know that I can do it.
It may be a case of we don't want that field deleted because then it would delete all the historical information, but you should be able to, there should be a box display on table, and you can either check that box or uncheck that box to see that information or not see that information on your higher table. So that might be one option. Just go ahead, and if you don't want to see it, you don't have to see it. So that would be my thoughts there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Victoria. I have a question. I have Carrie Mulliken raising her hand, so I'll unmute Carrie right now, and then we have some other questions in the question panel, so we'll go through those after this next question from Carrie. So Carrie, you're unmuted, so go ahead.
Thank you. I asked the question last week, whenever I am posting a job in ApplicantStack, or either one, I'm opening a job in ApplicantStack, I am not seeing that job posted in Indeed. And I mentioned last week that what I'm having to do is go back in to Indeed and create a job posting. Well, so the advice that was given was that I need to wait, about 1 to 2 days after I post on ApplicantStack for it to show up organically on Indeed. I have posted 3 new jobs this week, actually 2 of them on the 13th of this week, and I'm not seeing them on Indeed.
Okay, have you contacted your Indeed support rep? There may be something that they're queuing in on. I know we talked about job titles and should only include, specifically the title, nothing in caps.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing
in caps?
Well, we're not 100% sure what they're queuing in on, but if you have urgent need in capital letters and with exclamation points, something like that.
No, There's no special characters. Now, I do have capital letters, but whenever I post on Indeed, I've posted some jobs on Indeed before, and of course, I've had capital letters. I mean, to me, grammatically, it just doesn't look right if the job is
Well,
not
yeah,
capitalized like it's supposed to be.
just not sections of text in capital letters, a block of text. So I would recommend if they're still not showing up, if you've gone through all those steps, I think Brandon had sent a kind of best practice link. If you followed all of that, there is an Indeed support form that I would recommend you go ahead and contact Indeed and just say, you know, I'm not seeing my jobs on your site. I'm just wondering why. And then they might be able to provide a little bit more feedback or insight as to why they're not showing. And also our support team can check the XML feed on the back side just to make sure everything looks okay. But that might require some further investigation. Indeed is going to be your best bet to figure out why they're not showing up.
Okay, so I need to reach out to them first, not to you guys first?
You might just put in a quick ticket and just say, hey, my jobs aren't showing up. Let them know which jobs specifically are not showing, so they have that information. They can check, you know, on our end. They'll say everything looks okay on our side, or this might be what's going on. But then Indeed can give you if it's not showing, a definitive answer if it's something on their side.
Okay, I have a second question over sponsoring a job. Would you rather me wait and discuss that later, or?
It's related. So what's your question on sponsoring?
Okay, well, I also posed this question last week that whenever I am sponsoring a job through ApplicantStack versus sponsoring a job through Indeed, I had mentioned that I do not get as many applications through ApplicantStack as I do versus Indeed, and it costs more money through ApplicantStack versus through Indeed. For example, I have a senior utility engineer position that I have on Indeed. I was sponsoring it $45 a day. I was sponsoring it for about 1 week, and I was going to get 10 to 12 applications. So then I went to ApplicantStack and I did the exact same thing, the exact same requirements, $45 a day, and I was going to get 0 to 3 applications. So I screenshot pictures just because I mean, you guys were under the impression through your Indeed rep that it shouldn't cost any more money, that if someone sponsors a job through ApplicantStack, that it should, you know, be comparable to Indeed.
Yep, correct. And we will be checking with our product team. We have that jotted down as a question. There is a meeting coming up with them. We'll be posing that question to them to get their thoughts on that.
Well, and I'll tell you something else I went and did is, okay, so over the week on Indeed, I was going to post it $45 a day. It was going to end up costing me $585. Well, so I went into ApplicantStack and I just put $585 as my entire budget, and I only got 2 more applications. So instead of 0 to 3, it was going to be 0 to 5 is my performance estimator.
Right, and to our understanding, that should not be happening, but we will be checking. Our product team has a connection to Indeed on the partner side, and they can certainly pose that question to them as well, and we'll get some more feedback your way.
And can I ask a follow-up question here? So you're saying these budget and performance variations on the estimator. Have you also experienced it in real life?
Clarify what you mean by that.
Meaning you're putting in the budget and it's telling you can expect X amount of applicants. And so you're, at that point, you're not submitting it through ApplicantStack because you don't want to waste your money, right?
I have not submitted it on either one yet because I wanted to reach out to you guys, because obviously I'd rather use ApplicantStack. Okay. It would just be the easiest thing. I just screenshot them because we talked about it last week, and I thought I'm going to screenshot that and I'm going to talk about that this next time. I have not submitted either one of them just because, I mean, I would rather use ApplicantStack.
Yeah, well, the reason, just so you understand my line of questioning, I'm trying to understand for the dev team, if this is, because it could just be a problem with the estimator and not an actual problem in practice. So if you were to actually post it, your budget could be the same or comparable. So that's why I'm asking, did you ever actually post it and see a difference in
No.
outcomes?
No, and I'm doing just a one-time campaign, you know, a set an end date within ApplicantStack. I pushed, whenever I put in my $45 a day, I pushed use prediction budget. I use update performance estimator. Now it says with a budget of $250, you would receive 3 applicants in 30 days. But again, I mean,
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah, that is, because I mean, if I'm doing $45 a day for just a week and I'm going to get 10 to 12 applicants, I don't know. Something's not jiving. Something's not happening like it should be. And I just felt like you guys should know that as well.
Well, I wish we did. That is something that we are, because what we've been told and trained on is that there's not a difference, and you're not the first person that's told us that there could be, and so that's something we have to circle back with Indeed on, and we have, our whole company has one Indeed rep. There's one go-to person for Indeed to flesh that out, and so I apologize, we don't have a straight answer for you yet.
Well, and then my other hesitation is, okay, if I approach Indeed with my issue with my job not posting organically through ApplicantStack, the reason I was wanting to just reach out to you guys first, because Indeed's going to want to know why I'm not posting directly onto them. They're going to encourage me to post directly using them. You know, to me, I don't want to play this blame game where it's Indeed, no, it's ApplicantStack, no, it's Indeed. I mean, I just really want the problem solved.
And we have run into that blame game with newer Indeed reps, but the more seasoned reps, they understand that companies like ours, applicant tracking services, that's a big core of their business. So my understanding is, I mean, their integration with us is part of their business strategy, so they don't really have an incentive to try and squeeze us out. But I have heard of newer account reps from Indeed, just out of ignorance, not knowing that there's another option. They've just told people to do it directly through Indeed.
Well, let me ask you this: because my Indeed rep, not that you're going to know her, but it's Caitlin. If she does say reach out to ApplicantStack and let's hear what they say, is there someone else that I could talk to that you guys would recommend? Because I mean, honestly, we're all busy and we don't have time to play this 3-hour circle game. I mean, I would really just rather get it resolved in one phone call and we're done.
No, there's no one else at ApplicantStack that's going to have that answer. We've talked about it in our meetings with the highest levels of the company, and so they're working with Indeed to get answers to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what you're suggesting right now, I probably should just sponsor through Indeed until we get things worked out, I guess.
That's what I would do. Yep.
Well, and I'm just going to kind of circle back. That's forcing me now to post a job on Indeed rather than just posting it on ApplicantStack and not having to, you see what I'm saying? I mean, if we're wanting to use ApplicantStack, post our job on ApplicantStack organically, and then we want it to show up on Indeed, I'm going to have to turn around and put my job on Indeed to get it sponsored with a large amount of applicants that's going to, help me out.
Here's a question. Can't you still post it organically through ApplicantStack and then go into your Indeed account and sponsor that same job?
Well, if I could find my job on Indeed, yes. But that's the problem, is I can't find my job. That's the other issue that I'm having. So I took your advice from last week whenever you guys said, if you're posting on ApplicantStack and then you turn around and post on Indeed, well, Indeed knows that you have 2 postings, and so they just kind of cancel one out. And so this week I've posted 3 new jobs, and I have not posted them on Indeed at all, hoping that within a couple of days they would show up. but they still have not shown up.
Hmm.
We
Yeah,
can
that
circle
makes
back.
me.
I mean, I don't want to take up all of your time because I know other people have questions, but I definitely, I'll tell you, my applicant stack rep is Carol Kennedy. And I'll be reaching out with her because I certainly don't want to take somebody else's time
Okay.
you know, but yes, that's the issue that I keep running into, and I've been trying to figure out ways to resolve it, and I have not been able to yet.
Oh, we're sorry.
No, you're okay. This is not, I'm not wanting this to turn into a gripe session. I know that you guys want your software to run to the best of its ability to be useful to your clients, and that's why I'm just kind of sharing some of the issues that I'm having, because I want ApplicantStack to work. I want to use it more.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay.
Well, we'll do some follow-up and reach out on that issue and hopefully get that resolved. But thanks for your question, Carrie. I'm glad we
Sure
got to
thing.
talk through.
Sure thing. Thank you.
So I have a question from Nick Turner, and then we'll go to Deanna Reyes next, as she has her hand raised. So from Nick, we have, he's using questionnaires and attaching to help with the pre-screening knockout situations. But what are some other solutions he could use a questionnaire for other than those pre-screening knockout questions?
Sure. Questionnaires can be used for a number of different reasons or in a number of different ways. So maybe you want to create, and I'm heading into my library to show you some examples. When I was a recruiter, I had a phone screen form. So I had some general questions jotted down so I wouldn't forget to ask them in my discussion with the candidate. Why are you looking for a new opportunity? What's your time frame, and so forth. So you might use a questionnaire for something of that nature. We have assessments that are being used. So maybe you got some, I believe someone's even using a physics assessment. So you can go ahead and include questions for your candidate to complete. It can even be for a third party. So maybe you trigger a reference check form to go out to the references that were provided by the candidate, and then they can complete that information for you. So it can be used by your internal users, it can be used by candidates, it can be used by third parties. So they're very flexible. And just to give you some ideas, phone screen forms, general questions, things of that nature, reference checks, employment applications, those are all questionnaires.
Cool. Thank you for that answer, Carol.
Mhm.
We've got another question coming in from Megan Lay. And she said she's wondering if anything is changing on the general application template to accommodate for the changing laws on collection of salary data.
Yep, we do keep an eye on that. If anything changes, we will go in and make system changes. If it's statewide or something specific to you or your organization, minor changes can be made by our support team. So if you just go ahead and submit a support ticket, they can go ahead, just let them know specifically where you want to place after this question, before this question, or specifically what question you want removed. Any detail you can provide is going to help them get that in the right place. But correct, we will make changes if you just send us a quick support ticket.
Perfect, thanks. I have a question from Victoria. Is that sample displayed now called generic for when I submit a ticket?
I'm not sure I understand that question. Victoria, do you want to hop on and?
Go ahead, you're
Yes.
unmuted.
Okay. So right now, like if you hit the back arrow to that library, is that whole group? That's what I mean. So that whole sample questionnaire group that you're like, if you do hit it again, yeah, click on there.
Okay, yep, and that's the screen that I'm on.
So are all those, like if I wanted to get a sample of all those, is that, like right now I already have, so we have like the VEBRAs, the last three are embedded or created in, but like if we wanted to see it so I could get ideas for stuff, is that do I just say I want the template questionnaires? I just want to make sure I'm asking the right way.
Sorry, I got you now. So some of these are going to be ones that I created as my demo account. So it's something that I've populated or created, but some of these are generic. Okay. Your CC305, those are standard. So our team should know if you just go ahead and ask them, I need the Bever form, post-offer, pre-offer, I need the CC305. They can even auto-attach that to your job. So just let them know what you need. But some of these are going to be templates that are available to everybody. Some of these I have created. So
okay, but it is considered like a generic one. So like if I said that it was the generic interview or things like that, is that what you mean then?
Yeah, just or sample interview evaluation form.
Sample.
If you,
Okay.
Yeah, something of that nature, that's going to help them.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Thanks for your question. We're at the end of the questions in the question panel and then those raising hands. So feel free to get your questions in if you have one for now. And then Victoria, did you have another question or is that just from earlier with the hand raise?
Another question. So I know earlier you mentioned that this was something new that you guys that started for this month. Have you determined if it's going to continue on or is this just going to be for the rest of this month?
So we're going to do it for the rest of this month, and then next week we'll have more information on the cadence for the future, and we'll be sending out a little survey as well for those of you who've participated, just to get some ideas of how we can improve the program. But we'll have some more details next week on the cadence for the future of these, and then upcoming webinars that we might have as well. Thank you for your question. Any other questions that we've got? Okay. Oh, we've got a question from Mike Bacon. Love the last name. I will unmute you now and then you can go ahead and ask your question. And you might just need to unmute on your side too. Thanks.
Hi, I'm sorry, this is not Mike actually. I'm from his team. Unfortunately, he had another meeting, so I'm attending it on his behalf. My name is Rahila, and I have a quick question around the candidate IDs actually. So we keep hiring for our certain requisitions, and sometimes there is one candidate who applies for various other jobs. What we actually face sometimes is when we search their names, we go on the search candidates box and we just either write their first name or their email IDs. But is there a way that we can have unique identification for each candidate who applies? Because sometimes the first names can be like for 2 or 3 people can have the same name, right? And it just sometimes it's like very confusing for us to differ. And therefore, I just needed to know if there's a function where we can have unique identities or unique identification for each candidate.
Yeah, I believe I'm going to search by name, so as close to your name as possible. But as far as identifier, I'm not sure if that's true. So unfortunately, if you're George and there's more than one George in your account, you can pull up every George. So the closest you can come to the name, that's going to help you narrow in on that. So I can see, what job they're in. But as far as a unique identifier, especially since they can apply to multiple jobs, there's not for example, a unique candidate number that you can search on. Yeah. Because they are across jobs, unfortunately. So you can If you have a duplicate candidate in your system, when you check that candidate record, there should be a little red asterisk next to their name, and it should be in red, I believe, and it will let you know that they've applied to more than one job. So once you find that candidate, you can go ahead and hover over that notification, and it will show you what other jobs that they are in. That might help.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we do see that that one candidate, if at all they apply for various other jobs, we do see all the jobs that they have applied for. But sometimes when we have to search them specifically by going on the search tab, like the box, and we sometimes I have experienced it myself that even the full names, like the first name and last names, are also like similar. Like two people can have same first name and last name, and then it just becomes very confusing for us to figure out which candidate are we looking at. So if we can just, you know, separate each candidate, you know, based on their any kind of number or identity, any unique way to separate them, I think that would really help us. And if at all this feature is not there in ApplicantStack as of now, I think it's just a feedback that I would like to give, because we have, as recruiters, we have experienced this a lot while you know, screening and reviewing candidates.
Sure. And so what should be unique? The phone number typically is going to be unique. The email address, those should not be changing too often. So if you come into your candidate search functionality,
Okay.
searching by phone number or by email, and that is going to pull up that unique individual. So that might be something.
Yeah, like email is something that I totally agree that it can be unique, and but sometimes, you know, when candidates they apply from Indeed, if we are receiving resume from Indeed, so it's a Indeed email ID that we like the email ID which Indeed gives to these unique candidates. That's what we see. We don't actually see the personal email IDs at that time. So, but yeah, yes, phone number can be a way that we can, you know, figure out. It's just like an additional step where we have to go on the candidates tab and then type the details to, you know, find the candidates that we are looking at.
We have two ways to search. So on your candidate tab, you can do the quick search, search candidates, or if you come in, we have a little bit more advanced search functionality. So if you come into search on the right, that is going to open up a lot more options for you. So you can customize this a little bit. So maybe you need somebody who's bilingual. You can come in and search on that question. How do they answer that question?
Right.
As an example. So there's lots you can do here to kind of hone in on your candidate pool and what you're looking for. So I must recommend, unfortunately, our system does not combine profiles per se. So maybe use a unique identifier, email, phone, if you're, you know, location within so many miles of the zip code. Maybe you're, maybe that will help you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's like an additional detail. If we can put that, maybe filter out candidates in a better way, then we can get the exact candidate we are looking for. So yeah, thank you for sharing this. And I had one more question that is around the job description. So if we go on any particular requisition, and when we edit the job description by, you know, putting certain font style and size, things like that. So sometimes we have noticed that when we copy paste the font from our own Word templates, it actually shows like a background, you can say like a background highlight when the candidates actually go on the career website and they start applying for jobs. So on the career website, it is posted in a very different way, and we can see the background highlights in each font, and that looks very different and not very appropriate. So is there a way to actually edit it and maybe remove those highlights?
We do have the capabilities up here at the top. So maybe try, I've heard copy pasting into Word, or not Word, excuse me, Notepad before you copy in here. Maybe try paste as plain text to try to get that to go away. I do know what you're talking about, where the highlighting shows up inadvertently in the background. So maybe those options, if that doesn't work, our tech support team, I'm sure they've been asked that question before and may have, you know, a definitive. But I believe in the past I've seen they recommend copy pasting into Notepad or something really
So yeah, with Notepad, I think we can't change the fonts, right? Like we can't do a lot of formatting with the text if we put any particular text on the Notepad and then we copy paste it on ApplicantStack. We can't do any formatting and editing and all that.
Right. Brandon, do you have any thoughts on that? Have you run across that?
You're pasting by just doing Control P, or which button are you using to paste?
I'm doing the plain text command. I'm using that option to paste, and because I just experienced it like a week back when I was posting this particular job. So even when I was using the paste as plain text command and I was copy pasting from the notepad, it was still giving me the highlight, which I just couldn't understand why it was coming. But then there was this one time when I'm sorry, that was with Word document. But then there was this one time I did it on Notepad. But the issue with Notepad is you cannot format the text. Like we do use a certain template when it comes to job descriptions because we want all our job descriptions to be uniform. And when I'm pasting anything on the Notepad, I cannot use the font based on my requirements, right? Like I cannot change the font size or the font style. It just has to go based on how it is on the notepad,
Could you
limits.
Update the formatting after you post it into the listing?
Yes, I did try to do that as well, but then if I'm doing the formatting after pasting it on the listing, then it gives me the highlight again, and that doesn't solve the purpose.
And did you try manually removing the highlight by selecting all and then going to the
Yes, I did, but then I did not
do anything.
Yeah, I did not get the exact color which I needed because I was going through different, like it gave me different shades of white. I tried using all shades, but then once I was going on the main career website to see how it is being posted, how it looks, finally it still gave me a very, all different shades of highlights, which was not even matching the background. So it really was it gave me a lot of issues. And then eventually what we did was we just let go of the font size and the font style that we have been using, and we just copy pasted it on Notepad and then back to the listing. So whatever font style was there on the Notepad, we just ended up using that. We couldn't just modify it based on our requirements.
Yeah, it seems like there's some kind of remnant or shadow that's being pulled over from the source.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if I was troubleshooting this for myself, I would go to the source button. Could you show them that, Carol?
Yep, right here.
Yeah. I would go to the source button and yeah, click again.
Yep, yeah, click.
Yeah, so these are all the commands that are showing the formatting.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with this kind of language at all?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I just know enough to screw things up, not enough to fix anything. But so there's something happening here, and I mean, it would just we'd have to get on a web call and see exactly where you're taking from the source, what that source code looks like, where you're pasting. When you paste it into Word, is it saving some of that source information in the background, and then it's getting pasted back in? We just have to do it.
So do you suggest us talking to a technical support team, and maybe we can show them our job description and they will probably be able to give us the exact solution that is required? Because like I can't share my screen right now and show you exactly what the issue is.
Who's your account manager? What's your company?
Yeah, it's Innovatia. It's based in St. John, New Brunswick.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure our support team is going to be best to help you with that. They can come in and take a look, see what code might be in here that's making that happen, or they may have a suggestion to prevent that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that would be good. And I was the one who asked that question about the recording, so I will just share the entire thing with my team. And maybe with the mail, if I can get some contact of the technical support and if, like, how to reach out, and then we can set up a call together. I think that would be great.
Yeah, if you just click the orange question mark and ask a question,
Okay.
that's and send them a screenshot of what's happening. You can also email support@applicantstack.com directly. So,
okay, I'll do that from my side.
yeah, I might just send a screenshot and just say, hey, this is what it looks like. It's not matching. How can I fix this? And then they're going to have the best suggestion for you.
Okay, perfect. Sure. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you for your question. We have one more from Victoria as for her raising her hand, so you can go ahead and unmute.
Hi, mine's kind of not as close, kind of like the call, the what you have right there on your screen. So when we have a template, a standard one we use as well, and so I find that whether I'm using like we use it from Word, and then I'll like highlight it all, and I can try Control V in there, or I'll use the the little paper clips that you have there, the 3 to the left of the go back arrow, like the T, the W, and the little notepad, the little on the far left. So we try those, and then sometimes I'll get like a red flag, so then I know that it's bolding something, so it'll take me a little while to manipulate it and delete it out. But then the font, like, see how you have essential functions, let's say, that's, it'll automatically, if I just cut and paste or use the T or the W, or sometimes just straight that one to the left of that too. I don't know what that one's called, but yeah, just the cut and paste one. So it'll come over, and then it'll all be like in this huge font, and so I'll have to manipulate and go through each one and like either turn it to a 12 font or a 14, that kind of thing. So my wonder is that could I create one so it just stays that way, or is there a way it's just not reading it? So what I've done is I'll have a core one that I use, and I'll just copy it every time. But after a while, it gets cumbersome because sometimes a flag will come over, or if I'm out of the office, someone's not as familiar as going through and checking it. Because like right now, I have one that someone did while I was out, and all the font is uniformed except for this one. And I know how to fix it, but I'm doing it for, what do they say if you get hit by a bus and someone else has to do it while you're out? I'm trying to do it to where they understand that even though you hit clone, you still have to go through and, triple check that the font doesn't look like an 18 when it's a 12, or a 14 and then it's a 22 kind of thing. So there's no rhyme or reason. Our templates now for our job descriptions are all the same font and sizing, so I thought it would just be easier to copy all and one of the 3 ways to paperclip or paste in, but it doesn't always work that same way. So I'm wondering if now that you show that page, maybe there's something more in those HTML codes that might be reading over wrong. Was I understanding that screen right?
Yeah, and one other thing you might want to try. So in your library, there is a jobs template functionality. So you can create your template directly in the library. And then when you need to use that job again, when you create a new job, it's going to ask you, do you want to start from blank or do you want to use a template? So that might help save some grief if you create it here as a template. And then when you create a new job, pull that template in. Hopefully that will take care of some of that background noise that seems to be happening.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah, try that. Let us know how it goes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. And we're just coming up at the top of the hour. So if there's any other last minute questions that we have, we could probably get one more in, but if not, then we'll wait till next time. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else coming in, so that'll be it for today. Thanks everyone for joining and asking your questions. There was a couple questions about sending out recordings after this, so I will get the recordings out with the last couple as well to you guys ASAP, and then feel free to sign up for next week. We'll have another one next week and the following week for the rest of the next 2 Thursdays in September. So we'll look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks everyone.